Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. And this is a Friday special that basically because we weren't able to record during the week, we are doing it now. So we're going to be trying to catch up on last week's action with the Champions Cup and Challenge Cup quarterfinals. Going to look forward to the RC matches happening this weekend and some of the team news that has come out, and also just catch up with all the rugby news. I'm here with Kooks, and actually we've got some relatively breaking news. Kooks, you have an injury update for us.
Yeah, this is coming from the Jonathan Dante camp. Yeah, try to play some touch rugby on the weekend, and what pisses me off with this injury is that I hated tackling when I did play rugby. And I don't know why I'm trying to tackle mates when I'm supposed to be playing touch, and then yeah, strained my MCL so for 6 weeks. And likely my job doesn't require too much running around. I just got to walk around and work. I'm just gonna be a lot slower than I normally am, but yeah, just so annoying. I just think I need to leave chasing the sun to the experts. Like I get inspired instead of giving back hope. And I want to tackle people. Like I want to recapture, Peter Steph's epic tackles, and then unfortunately, I'm the one that's sitting in a knee brace.
Yeah. Look, guys, life lesson. For everyone listening to this, big rugby fan, whatever, after 25, don't tackle people. Like that's step number one. Don't do that. It's worth more hurt than whatever you're going to try to achieve. Don't do that to yourself. Your medical
It's just
aid
not worth
doesn't
it.
cover
Unless
for
unless
tackles.
unless you're still playing club rugby, then 100%. But if you're like 35, still playing rugby,
Even then,
like I think it's time. Like be like me. I mean, I retired from playing rugby. When I was full rugby game was what 5 years ago now, 2008 to 19. Yeah, I don't know why I'm tackling people like 5 years later. It just doesn't make sense. There was a little bit cold ones involved, and so we were playing touch, and then yeah, I definitely learned the after effects of that.
even club rugby, first team club rugby, yeah, obviously go for it. Second team below, 2-on-1, you just put your hands up. It's a try. I'm sorry, guys. I did my best.
100%. Like every time I see a guy's getting injured, and I was like, "Oh, you playing first?" Like, no, I was playing third. I was like, "Geez, bro, like I don't feel like it's worth being out for 9 months for third team club rugby." Like I know you love the guy. I just feel like there's like it's not worth it. Like you're 37, like you got kids, like you got a
Mm-mm,
job, like
mm-mm,
you don't have a rehab plan. Your rehab plan, like that's
mm-mm.
like you're not gonna phone like see like Renee Naylor like Sia did, and he's gonna bring you back to work in 4 months. No. Like just let it go. Let it go.
No, I mean, I also have some knee injury issues, and it's just not worth it, guys. Like leg injuries, having to rehab it, like going on crutches, like when you still have to do your day-to-day stuff. I'm sure it's even worse for people with kids. Like, guys, just you know what? Sometimes you hang the jersey up the rafters, like retire, sort of like kiss the game goodbye.
I
Even
just tell
touch, right?
stories.
I mean, this
I
would happen
just
with
tell
Cooks.
stories. That's my theory. That's what that's the job. Like, why don't I play rugby anymore? Because people know that obviously I've played a little bit of the Kings. I forget. They assume that I'm good, and I'm leaving it there. Like they don't need to like come out of retirement and there's expectations. Then I'm like missing to like you see. So now I rather live on the myth that when I did play full time, like oh this guy could play, and I look like I can still play. So sometimes let the myth be. Like don't let people actually see you actively playing, and then you go like, I don't think he still has it. Like his
Mm.
stories don't make sense anymore.
No. Even if you must play touch rugby, be that guy that gets the first pass and just passes it.
Yeah,
Just that's all your role. Don't
one
try to be on the
offload.
wing. Don't try to do the steps.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I just do one offload to show people that I still got it. Then they're like, oh, okay, oh no,
Yeah.
oh no, you can, or like or just like start calling out
Then
great,
sub.
like or start calling out defensive reads that no one else would know. They'll be like, okay, this guy, he knows what he's doing. This guy, like, start calling like guys when to press. They go, okay, this guy, okay, he knows what he's talking about. Like, there's no need to be doing chosen Colby hops and steps.
No. No, guys. Yeah, I said stop playing rugby 25. Stop stepping at like 21. Like, don't do
Yeah.
that to yourself if you're not a professional, guys. Don't do that. Like, you'll tear up your whole knee if you're trying to be Curtly Orenser. But let's go into the Champions Cup. I think we'll just do quick recaps on that and then go into the games this weekend. So, game of the weekend was definitely the first game, which was Bordeaux versus Harlequins. Harlequins winning that game 42 points to 41. Just an attacking masterclass from both teams. Like obviously the talent that is there. Bordeaux crowd was getting into to it. Harlequins, I think, got themselves into a good lead, and Bordeaux did well to come back as well. This is a surprise, Cooks. I mean, I think most people are thinking Bordeaux is going to make a run. They obviously did well in the round stage, in the group stages. They thrashed Saracens. And funny enough, I think Bordeaux's net score against Saracens was like 100 points to 21. Saracens' net score against this season is 90 points to 21. So obviously, Harlequins beats Bordeaux in France.
Yeah, geez. I think the part, I definitely think Harlequins could do it in France. I mean, obviously, Harlequins is a good side. I think the Harlequins are like, you're not going to beat them playing jouet. Like, you're falling into their hand.
Yeah.
Harlequins love, like, I think with Harlequins, like, you need to play them, like, when it's raining, like, try to win 12-3. Like, that's what you want against the Harlequins. Don't get in a shootout against those Oaks. And most importantly, don't get in a lead that requires them to score like 3 tries in a hurry, because they'll find a way. But it was a great game of rugby. I think Harlequin shows they're one of those teams that you don't actually want to play because of their ability to score points and score points quickly. And they do have a good pack, and they can do the best of both worlds. But when you sort of get them in a running game, you fall into their hands. And I think playing in Bordeaux against France, nothing to lose. I mean, it was a great game. I think it could have gone either way. I think Bordeaux definitely will feel like it's a chance missed, especially losing a game like that at home. But geez, I mean, shout out to Quins. I mean, even the game against Glasgow, for them, the way they found a way to win that game, it's just I mean, the polished side. So at the end, Marcus Smith is in the form of his life. Esterhuizen was good again. Esterhuizen debuted a 10 on the weekend. So everything you wanted from attacking game, it was there. So yeah, I think it was a great way to start I'd say a tough weekend of Champions Cup rugby to be defensive coach.
Yeah, I mean, there was not much there for the defensive coaches. Just very quick shout outs to Chandler Cunningham South. Like, that man is a beast already. Like, I mean, Sean, I think, said months ago that he's like the Courtney Laws next Courtney Laws type of player. And you just saw in that first 20 minutes, especially, I think he carried like 6 times, and he was like bringing defenders and going over the gain line. Like, he's just amazing. And you've mentioned Marcus Smith, and him and Esterhuizen are playing well. I mean, the Quins backline, we know what to expect from them. Also, their prop Finn Baxter. Like, seems like England just has this like group of like 20 to 25-year-old props that are going up and going to take this world by storm. So, I mean, obviously that's good news for them, because that's been maybe a bit of a weak point the last like 5 or so years.
No, 100%. I think we did worry with them. Obviously, the Dan Coles was able to hold on, and Joe Marler still relying on those two. And you kind of felt like, oh, geez, there might be a bit of a gap when those two sort of fall away. But now there's more guys coming in. I think also the difference with the props they have now is, yes, they can scrum. Yes, they're also good ball players as well. I think it's sort of leaning into that money ball sort of version that England's sort of playing at the moment. And I think for them, I mean, it is an exciting time for England. There is something there, like you said, like there is a good side that is coming together slowly but surely. And adding the likes of Finn Baxter there, it just shows that they're adding a bit of depth, and then there is a life post Marler and Dan Cole.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Leinster La Rochelle game, and Leinster beating, I think, all of their demons by thrashing La Rochelle 40 points to 13. It's I think this is one way of just, exercising any past demons and things that you've gone through. And look, I think for South African rugby fans, a very familiar performance in terms of just, the defense and how dogged they were. And even just the number 4 just going absolutely beast mode on them. And Joe McCarthy, like, I think he's, either, a good run in the Champions Cup or in the URC. And if he has a really good tour in July in South Africa, like, I'm ready to go all in on this guy. I think he's going to be then, if he's able to prove it in South Africa as a 23-year-old, I'm sold. Like, he's already in that like Itoje, like Paul O'Connell, like level in terms as a youngster, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think with him, the more physical the game, the better. I mean, you look at his probably breakout performance against France, against a big physical pack. I think that's sort of the games he gets up for. Now, obviously, we've seen what La Rochelle has done against Leinster in the last couple of years. They've almost bullied them. Will Skelton's had his way with them. So it felt like Leinster's finally had an answer for that in Joe McCarthy. And I think he was fantastic again, I think, and they've got an absolute gem there, and something they, as good as the Irish side is, in as Rusty calls them, the tricksters and all the tricks that Irish and Leinster have, and all the tricky plays. They did need a bit of grunt up front, and I think Joe McCarthy brings that. And I think at the end of the day, if for Leinster to go far, and I think they weren't too far from it. Geez, they lost the final last year, and I mean they lost two rugby games last year. Pretty much, it was a final and a semi-final. So I think with Joe McCarthy, him getting better, as that's been the missing link, and probably Jacques, but also in terms of you look at how they defended, and I think for Ireland, it's going to be interesting when it comes to South Africa. I mean, that's the big litmus test. I mean, against the best locks in the world, and I definitely think he'll be up for the challenge.
Yeah. Look, I mean, in terms of from the La Rochelle side, I mean, we'll talk about it with the Bulls as well, but I think doing the Cape Town and then back to Europe situation, like I think it's gonna be some years still, or the format of the competition has to change until we see like a team do that and be able to go through. So it was only because of how good La Rochelle is that I even thought, okay, maybe they can still do it because you know what, they're just always that brilliant. But I mean, Leicester's just on really good form right now. And yeah, I mean, even after that Leicester game, people are like, no, this is not the best Leicester's been. Like, they're still looking like a bit like rough around the patches. And I was like, if this is an average or underperforming Leinster team, goodness gracious, like with the rest of us are in trouble. So yeah, I think this is obviously a big win for them. It's obviously opens things up. Like that 5-star becomes an opportunity now. But now I'm wondering, Cooks, so we all know that whole Leinster Toulouse La Rochelle relationship. Does that now reverse? Does that mean now Toulouse is looking at Leicester being like, we can now reverse our demons against you now?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that's what's going to be. I think Toulouse. I mean, obviously that's the bookies final. I mean, you'd expect Leinster and Toulouse to go through, but I think Toulouse, they'll be thinking if there's ever a time to beat Leinster, they probably think it's now. But Thala, I think Leinster's played it perfectly this season. They haven't come out guns blazing. They sort of, yes, they've been winning, but they've sort of gotten better and better as the seasons go, and they're starting to play the rugby now at the right time. So you kind of felt the last two seasons is they shot out the blocks, and as the season went on, they started to sort of crack, back-to-back semi-final losses in the URC, both at home. So whereas now I think they're finding ways to win games in April and May, which is something they've struggled with the last 2 months. I think you can't understate the value of Jacques Nienaber and what he's brought to them, and you can see that defensively, and it's something. Then the players have responded very well. But if I'm Jacques Nienaber, I think from now on, I don't know about you if you agree, his job now, until when everyone's come back to Springboks, is he must just go to clubs who's got a drought against a certain team and just go coach them. Like, if Toulouse loses again, he must go to Toulouse next year until they play Leinster. Like, he must go to the Crusaders in March because now they've got a drought because they're losing to everyone. Like, that's it must be like being like Mr. Fix It. Like be like what Gus Hiddink was to Chelsea. When you fired a manager, when he's something. That's my new plan. I'm jogging about, like, why hang around a job for long? Just be the guy they call when your team, like, oh, man, we can't beat this team, get over the humps. Like, perfect, that's my job.
Yeah.
Like if I was him out of Rizal on Monday, like, guys, you beat La Rochelle, my job here is done. So I'll see you in the final when I'm the defense coach for Toulouse.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, look, I it's been a great week for Leinster. Extension with the NZR. He's going to be continuing with the NZR until 2027. That he has a little sabbatical and he's going to play for Leinster. So Leinster now has almost like a Toulon level of like all happening now. So this has now started a big civil war with all the Irish clubs, and that the central contracting system favors Leinster and not the others. There's receipts being thrown left, right, and center. Leinster saying, well, you guys also had some All Blacks in your teams, etc., etc. Like, it's an absolute mess. But let's start with the rugby part, which is Geordie Barrett. They said, hey, look, you had Dougie Howlett when he was there, when he was at his peak. So, there's so many ways to look at this, but I would love to see Jordie Barrett play most of the season at 12 for Leinster and having Ringrose next to him. Obviously, they'll rotate. I think maybe if they want to pick all their superstars, they probably put Barrett at 14. So you have like basically world-class players all through that back line. But yeah, what can Barrett, I mean, it's a bit obvious, but what can Barrett bring to this Leinster team?
I mean, he's a great signing for any side. I mean, I think for him personally, I think for NZRU, I think it's well played. I think it's a great place to send someone on a sabbatical and play a high level of rugby. So I mean, not no respect to the Japanese league. I think it's obviously a great league, but I think for the things you learn there is perfect for him because he's a great ball player. He's quick. I think like kicking wise, playing in conditions is like playing European rugby, playing a different style of rugby. I think it will sort of suit him. You'll learn new things that he can add to his game because I do think it looks like his future now is at 12. And I think for him to play 12 in Europe is a different prospect than playing 12 in Super Rugby. And because now you're dealing with Bandiak, yeah. You're going to go deal with Jonathan Dunt, you're dealing with this Fiku, and there's so many great 12s at the moment playing now. So for him, I think it's a great challenge for him. I think obviously you bring being a utility, and obviously he just brings quality. I mean, I think he is a top 10 rugby player in the world at the moment. I mean, he is a great player. And I think for Leinster, like it's a great little backup plan. If you don't win a trophy this season, you're like, okay, if you come back with nothing this season, at least you got Jordie Barrett. If they don't win next season, not give up. Yes. If you bring like a World Cup winning coach, and then you bring a current on form, probably one of the most important players in the All Blacks, and then then I don't know.
Yeah. Look, big shout out to the All Blacks. They don't lose him for a test because I think he starts with Leinster. He'll finish the season with Leinster, then be back for the July test.
Yeah,
so
in December,
yeah,
after the end of the year tour this year.
Yeah. So it doesn't miss anything in theory. So that works out a lot better than maybe other deals could have worked out. And yeah, I think Barrett becomes a better player. I'm sure even Razor was probably supporting this, that, he just upskills. And if maybe the Springboks have sort of led the charge in being like a utility player. So if it does happen, then now Barrett maybe plays a bit of 10, is a bit of 14. I don't think that's the game is developed if, the fees to sort of crash it up as well. Like, I think this helps the All Blacks. This helps as well. Obviously helps Leinster. I mean, it's going to be scary hours for the rest of the RC because there's no Irish central contract, or we have to limit his game time. So he's going to South Africa. He's probably going to be playing, the Zebras and the Dragons and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, he's there for 6 or so months, so they might as well play him every week. Sorry, did you disconnect there?
Oh, sorry, I lost you there. Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you get something for 6 months, I want him to play against the Lions. He needs to. He must play against the Cheetahs if needs be. He must just play against every possible team Leinster could play. Just get friendlies and make the most out of his contract. Like, you're just gonna play rugby. Like, so what if Sexton didn't play against Zebra? You are gonna play against Zebra and the Dragons. He's gonna have. He needs to leave there with at least like 45 caps. Like, because you're playing Super Rugby anyway. So it's like you're playing rugby anyway. So you're playing rugby.
And look, this week has now led to the Leinster media team just going, like, they're feeling themselves right now. They are, I don't know who took it over their backs. Like, yeah, Leinster is now going into being a peak villain, and I love it. I really do love it. I think this is, if you're the best, if you're probably the best team, if you're cooking the rest of your Irish other teams as well, like, just lean into it and just be a total villain. So 100%. Yeah, this week has just been, I think that Leinster Twitter thing has just gone crazy the last 2 days.
No, 100%. I think, I mean, the Leinster Twitter is doing everything but telling us which squad they're sending to South Africa. It took them so long because you go on the Twitter site, you're trying to find out information. They're just trolling everyone. You're like, guys, can we get information? And then they're like, oh, by the way, you're playing in the Viva
Nope.
next year. Then more trolling. Oh, by the way, like I'm like, guys, can we get to? I need information here, but I'm all in for big teams going into the villain era. I'm all for that. Like, don't do this humble thing. Like, oh, we want to give back. No, we are better than everyone. Make a plan, deal with it. That's all I've done those last time. Just deal with it. Sorry, you got Jordy Barrett. So what now? You go fight with Ireland, the IRFU
Yeah.
for technical contracts. We got him. Hey, sorry guys. We'll move forward.
Yeah. It seemed like they teased maybe an announcement next week. It might be Taniela Tupou, who knows? Might be Andy Farrell coaching them. Who knows at this point? Like Leicester's just getting everything. So the next game then is the Northampton beating the Bulls 55 points to 22. I think or 59 points to 22. I think the biggest story was obviously the Bulls sending. I mean, it started with Jake White complaining about the amount of flights they had to take to get to Europe. Then it was obviously a discussion about that. Then we found out that actually in those first class seats, I mean, well, SARA came back and said, no, we paid for 39 first class seats, like the whole team. Jake White and Dr. Strauss have flown directly to the UK in first class as well. Then we found out who was in the first class seats was not the Springboks that we were hoping for, but pretty much the second team for the Bulls. And yeah, it ended relatively predictably. If you've been watching or at least keeping up with Northampton, they've been a really good team. They're leading the Premiership. They thrashed Munster at the end last week. They're really good. So yeah, I think the result was probably the least surprising thing from the week.
It was a crazy week. I mean, well, then yesterday or the other day, Courtney Laws comes out calling the Blue Bulls dramatic, like it wasn't that bad. I'm like, we're dealing with an airplane gate here. I was like, then eventually they played rugby, but oh man, that was a wild week. But it's like when you talk about that, I think that there has to be a way to deal with this because it is affecting the SSRs. I think especially like when you're playing in South Africa and flying straight up because of the flights and like Jake said, I think they got the could only train on Thursday or something like that. So and then obviously you look at La Rochelle as the same thing where I think maybe going forward with us they might have to look at a bye after each something like play around a 16 bye, then play quarterfinals just to negate that because in the day for the Champions Cup is you want to have the best teams at their best. And I think like what annoyed me was the French clubs going like, yo, what the Bulls doing so wrong. I'm like, what? But you doing this for like French clubs will just be like, you know what? It's around a 16, but we like fighting relegation in the top 14 or we chasing number one. Yeah, stuff it. We leave all our French internationals at home and then we will go play. I mean, it's the same union when in July and June, they're going to send a C team to their tour. They won't even send the full French starting side. So there has to be a way where it does get sorted. Like, because you want to have the best sides playing. It's the best side. I think that's the appeal of the Champions Cup. But it's hard. Like, it's hard to go play in South Africa, fly to England. And I think the Bulls are going to come back and play again. And they're going to come back and play a game again this weekend, back in South Africa. Yeah. So you almost got to choose one and be like, well, you at Bulls, like we're top of the table, URC, we can potentially get a home final. So that probably works as better. So yeah, I don't know. Like I mean, clearly paying 4 million for flights isn't it? I mean, like that was like it was a crazy week. But I think for me, I think going forward, maybe it's just unfortunately the groups. I mean, the round stages, 100% can be weakened. But I think for playoffs, it might have to be sort of a bye. You play around a 16-week bye and then play again the week after. Yeah. That might be the way, just in terms of to try and negate teams. And even like not even the top 14 would be like, oh, bye means more top 14 games. No, like the teams are in, like just get them like, especially for that. You try find a way to block out 4 weeks. I mean, there was already. And I still think there's an unnecessary round of 16. I think it's supposed to go straight to quarterfinals, but that's another chat for a different day. Like, so I think that they got to find a way to make it work because you can't have situations like this again because we've seen the French sides do it for the longest time. I think because it's South Africa, now everyone's got an uproar about it. But I mean, I don't necessarily blame the Blue Bulls because no one's saying anything about Leinster sending a B side or B/C side here in South Africa on tour for 2 weeks. And they know they're like, well, we've got Champions Cup coming, so we'll send these guys and we'll win it. But like, so this is, I think that's going to be the narrative where I think in South Africa we'll be in that same boat where we'll have to get bigger squads so we can do the same thing. I think the Bulls have got a squad to do that. Say the Lions probably don't. Hence, like they sort of fell away as the Challenge Cup, that third Challenge Cup again. That's just too long to be playing your same ones for 3 weeks. So yeah, I think it has to be the issue. I mean, you kind of I don't want to see Jake in the middle of the rain having a press conference about flights again. I think and 8 flights. Some guys flying via Doha. Some guys flying straight. Some guys arriving tomorrow. I'm like, guys, is this like a Kontiki? Like, why is there no one else? Why can't we all be on one flight? Like, why are some guys arriving? And also, who are the ones coming on Thursday? Like, who gets decided that you're going to be on the last flight? Like, hey, you're flying first class, but so you're getting there on Wednesday. So I'm like, so coach, I'm not playing though, basically. So then leave me in Pretoria. Don't put me on 12 flight and I'm not playing.
Yeah, I would, if I was the guys flying in on Thursday, which effectively means I'm not being selected, that's like bus that's picking me up, definitely bypassing it, going into like the train. I'm seeing London that day. I am having the best day of my life. If I'm a football fan, I'm doing a stadium tour. If I like history, I'm going to the British Museum. I'm going to see Big Ben. I'm going to see Buckingham Palace. Like Jake will find me on the plane back on Sunday.
Like, I might make it to the game. It depends. It depends what's happening. If the late kickoff is no football on and I have tickets for my football team, I might be at the game. Like, if not, I'll take you put me on Thursday. Like, there might be some sort of picking order before. Like, 4 guys are going to get injured before I play. So I'm going to enjoy London and say thank you for. And I'll say, also, can you fly me back on Thursday again? The same flight you got for me coming on the same flight back, just so I can feel like the London spirit. Like, you can't make me stay in Pretoria until Thursday, but now I must leave on Sunday morning when it would. No.
Doesn't seem right.
No.
No, Cooks, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's no easy solutions to this. And yeah, I think sometimes it's one of those things of like look, if South African rugby sort of broke up with Super Rugby and then sort of found a new
They broke up with
relationship.
Us. They broke up with us. We didn't break up with them. They broke up with us.
I don't even want to get into those politics.
No, but also some of the comments were like, we need to go back to Super Rugby. I'm like, that's even worse, Flood. Like, I was like, I don't know what we must do. I was like, at least then, like, the structure's in place for us to fly at a certain time. But I'm like, that's halfway across the world now. Like, it's still a terrible flight. Like, now they're going back to jet lag. They must fly like, oh.
Yeah. But I never heard a situation where we only got there at like Wednesday. We'd get there like Tuesday latest.
Yeah, because deal with the jet fly lag. Like either Saturday night or like Sunday, like play the game and play in the afternoon and fly like straight after a flight Sunday morning. So yeah, we just accept. All I'm saying is, Thala, every competition we've been screwed. Because whenever we've had Super Rugby, we've got 4-week tours. Then like the other teams come in for 2 weeks. Now we move to Europe, and then now we screw with flights. Like no one wants us in these competitions. So either we band together, us like Argentina, bring the Jaguars back. They always keen to play rugby. They got no competitions. Just make our own competition where the longest flight is from Cape Town to Joburg. Because clearly no one else wants us. They're just like trying to bully us out from these competitions by just giving us the world's. It's like either we have jet lag for 4 days, or you train once on a Thursday. Choose one. Those are options here.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I don't think there's any incentive for EPCR and the French and European clubs to help us. Like, yeah, I think that bridge is pretty much burnt. With Super Rugby, we could have put our weight around by saying bigger population.
Yeah.
We bring the most money. Like, you have to listen to us. England with their pounds, France with their euros are going to be like, that's very cute. Like, you think you can try to bully us and kick us down the road. So, I mean, at least the URC relationship seems like we're fine there. I think the easiest solution is don't do a last 16. It also just rewards too many teams that don't really want to be in the knockouts anyway. We saw that with Lyon. We saw that like with French teams in the past. Get to a quarterfinal and just do a 2-legged quarterfinal. Then you can at least plan that, okay, I'm drawn with the Bulls. I'm going from Northampton and I'm going to Pretoria. Like, fans can sort of plan around it. Teams know what they're getting themselves into. And look, with a 2-legged thing, I mean, I think it worked pretty well. The I think we had a few two-legged ones, the two
Yeah.
Champions Cups before we joined. It works pretty well. Like you can have a chance of a very big comeback, and some of them we saw that. So it's never over. Like it's kind of like the whole Champions League remontada type of situation. Like a 3-0, 4-0 isn't, like the end of the world. You can sort of get into a good start and play. So like I think that would be probably more worth it than, a last 16 and now you don't even know where you're going. Because I can sympathize with Jake that the Munster Northampton game was the second last game of the
Yeah.
weekend. So they didn't know genuinely if they were staying in Pretoria or going overseas up
Yeah.
until about 4 o'clock on Sunday. So yeah, I don't know. We also, I hear Qatar Airways obviously sponsoring the EPCR. And apparently we're not in that deal, so we don't get flights with them, which is weird. I don't know. We either need to negotiate better as well. Like we can't be like just
But I
I
told
don't
you,
know
no one
who we
wants
sent
us.
for
No one wants
negotiation.
us to be in these competitions. They want us out. Now the guys are
So
organizing
they said,
parties without us. Like we part of it also. Like I can't organize a party and then like like the person that invite everyone and be like, and I'll tell her, by the way, like everyone's coming in limousine, but you have to walk there, even though you're invited from the get go. Like you have to make a plan.
do you think in the Zoom call with Qatar Airways, like it was England, France, Ireland, Scotland, Italy, Wales, and us, and then basically when Qatar was like mentioning the free flights, England just like came over our like window and just like pressed the X, and then we were off the call, and then we weren't in the deal basically.
I think you may have missed the meeting. They're like, yeah, we'll catch you up. Don't stress. We'll catch you up. We'll fill you in, and then just like, yeah, guys, they're out. Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
care about this competition. They got other meetings to deal with.
Yeah, because it genuinely, like you said, it feels like a Kontiki tour. Like we have people flying from all over and flights getting to the same place. Like, yeah, I think we need to take some responsibility and realize that there's not going to be any allowances for South Africa. Like it's also we can beat many things as a country. We've obviously won 4 World Cups. We beat all of our adversity and all that stuff. We can't beat geography, unfortunately. Like
No,
we're nowhere near the other good rugby teams in the world. So we'll always have to sort of get the bad end of the stick. So we have to either make sure we have a good deal with the airlines and make sure we can like sort of pre-book and hold seats and all the sort of stuff that you can do so that and then just find ways of like cutting costs. Like we maybe have to make a draw for the backline players. Like, okay, this week it's Kirkley and Villy LaRue that are on business class. Next week, okay, Kanan and Jan Goos and you in business class. Like that has to happen. Or just make longer tours and just try to make all the European games happen at one time. Like we'll have to see, but it's not working the way it's working right now, and there's not going to be much help from the EPCR. So I think the next thing then, and maybe I can just recap this game very quickly, Cooks, is Toulouse playing Exeter, 64 points to 26. That Toulouse won. And a bit weird game actually, because in the first half it felt like, oh, this could be a nice tight game. Like Exeter was leading. It was, I think it was 17-16 at halftime to Toulouse. And I was like, oh, okay, this could be a bit of an interesting game. We'll have to see how it goes. Then Toulouse just woke up and decided, you know what, we're Toulouse. We'll thrash any team. And then obviously they scored about 40 odd points in the second half. Blair Kinghorn had a great game. Antoine Dupont is still obviously just a ridiculous player. Yeah, like that Toulouse team seems really good. And yeah, we can just look forward to now Toulouse Harlequins like 100-pointer game happening in a few weeks' time, and that's just going to be a crazy game. So yeah, Exeter I think did pretty well to even be in contention for this game for as long as they did. They're still in the first year of their rebuild, so yeah, I don't think there was much to be expected from them. But yeah, they have some good young players to look forward to in the future. I think the one young player that I really liked was man of the match was Paul Costes from Toulouse. Like just another outside center that they can add to their collection. Like they've already got Deporter and he scored a great try on Saturday. Now forgetting this guy from Pau that also played for the French team just now. But him as well. And they've got Costes as well. Like they just I think they just they're just hoping now that Muafana becomes that big ball crashing number 12 because obviously Cooks slash Dante, he's getting older. He probably won't make the 2027 World Cup.
Yeah, I think. I mean, listen, with French, I mean, they are lucky enough that I feel like the rich get richer. I mean, like the center depth is getting a lot better, and like you said, like we saw Deporter make his debut in the Six Nations, and he looked good on debut, and now there's another player coming through, and I think which they need because I mean, Figo and Donji are getting a bit older, so they did need guys coming through, and with Toulouse and. I did feel bad for Exeter on the weekend. I thought Exeter, I mean, the first off, they were great, but then once DuPont and the boys start putting on a show, there's not much you can do. And it was great, I think, to see Ntamak and DuPont back at 9 and 10 together. I think it's just nice. I just love seeing Ntamak back on the field. I think
Yeah.
no one's properly grasped that number 10, best number 10 in the world belt yet. So Ntamak, he's probably the last person to hold it, so he's probably going to come back for his jersey, but it's Toulouse in France. I mean, it's one of the few places it's just so hard to win. You almost need them, like just be like Leinster, like try to get them either in Ireland or a neutral venue. That's your best hope.
Yeah. So the EPCR released their like top 8 or final 8 for the play of the tournament. There's Antoine Dupont, Courtney Laws, Finn Smith, Marcus Smith, and then the Leinster foursome of Caelan Doris, Jameson Gibson Park, James Lowe, and Dan Sheehan. So they're sort of the short list. They have a long list after the group stages, then they make it shorter. I think they're going to announce the winner after the final. Yeah, so obviously all 4 of the teams represented. I mean, if Toulouse wins now, it has to be Antoine Dupont because of the shortlist. So yeah, it's a bit weird. We were talking about it before that I think maybe they should like hold off on releasing the shortlist, maybe at least until the final. And then you can sort of have a good balance of teams that are in the final, teams that were knocked out, and then have a nice like final 8 or final 6 from there. But yeah, obviously Leinster dominates, which is a bit funny because Toulouse has basically thrashed every team they've played, and they should at least have more than one representative in that final 8.
It's a hard one. That's why I said it is a hard one because yes, you look at the guys in the group stage and all that, but like it's a hard barometer to tell. That's why I at least wait until the final. Like you don't announce all player of the year nominees after the Six Nations. Like you at least allow like rugby championship and things to happen, and then sort of end up like autumn series. Then you sort of looking at announcing the nominees. But I mean, like I agree with you. Toulouse, I thought Toulouse would have a little bit more players in like, and like it's like a hard one because I think Leinster like because you can fall into like short-term memory like of what's happened recently because you see okay, but then it's hard because like for some especially like Leinster sometimes they'll rotate certain players in the last game of the group stage because they've qualified. You know what I mean? Like so, or size can rest a few guys. Some guys may not play as many games, but I think once you get if you at least let the playoffs run, then you can gauge. Then you can look. Okay, the best players are playing all the time. Gauge and there's a bigger barometer. But I mean, like because in the day, like it's all like you look at that list. There's no one that surprises you. I mean, Doris is there. Gibson Park, obviously he's having the form of his life. DuPont's there. Like there's not like guys that like they're like, oh my word, I can't believe he's there. Like you know what I mean? Like of course, there's an African there. I mean, we never gonna play in there. So it would be nice to just sneak in one.
Do
But
you want Harold Foster to be in there?
yeah, give some love. Anakom, come on now.
Fair enough.
Was it a great Champions Cup? But like yeah, so I think I just wish they would just wait to just spread it out. Just like wait until like final or post final. Like I almost feel like they feel like they have to announce it as the final whistle blows. Like you can still have the final, like sort of like the fans. We're not voting. Like so, like so I think that I would wait till the final to announce nominees for play. Like tournament's basically halfway through, or like 3/4 of the way through. Like it's still enough, lots of rugby to be played. I mean, like you said, someone like Francois Kroos was just off the, maybe just missed it. What happens now if he has 2 outstanding games and you go jeepers? Now
Yeah.
those games. So I think you still want to give leeway for that.
Yeah, and if Leinster gets knocked out in the semi-final, you are left with
You got
four
four guys in
players.
there. Exactly. Like,
Active.
there's four of them in there. So by
So
numbers, one of them should win it. Like that is
yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Very quickly, thoughts on the semi-finals. I mean, the English teams have done really well to give them their credits, like Northampton and Harlequins making to the semi-final. The favorites are though the Leinster and Toulouse. I think Toulouse Harlequins, like sort of similar to the Bordeaux game. It's a tough matchup for Toulouse because they sort of into the hands of Harlequins, but at least with Toulouse, they do have that sort of that size, that power game that can
yeah.
sort of build the foundation for them going wide. So I would be giving it to Will Skelton and Cyril Bay and like try to sort of grind it out. I mean, sorry, Will Skelton, Emmanuel Meafu and Cyril Bay and grind them out like that. And then obviously Cook. With Leinster, Northampton, yeah, I mean, I don't think Northampton will win, but they're such a really good and organized attack that I think they could sort of. I mean, obviously it's a Leinster defensive. I mean, well, with Ninobo and defense, so obviously they'll put pressure on them. But you can see Northampton being the type of team that they know themselves a bit better than maybe Leicester knows their attack. Maybe they could find some holes in that rush defense.
I think like Northampton, I think to play against Leinster, you've got to be well organized and good up front, obviously. But being organized is a big thing because I mean they don't make mistakes on their day. They don't make mistakes.
Mm.
You saw that against La Rochelle. I mean, as much as they bullied La Rochelle, but they also took their chances, and the chances came from the pressure that the defense put on. So I think Northampton they do stand. I think Northampton has a better chance against Leinster than Harlequins against Toulouse. I just think Toulouse at the end of the day, Toulouse can also lean. I mean, Leinster can, but Toulouse, at the end of the day, they can lean on that championship experience. Being there before. You got the
Mm.
likes of Bond, you got the likes of Nantamak, and they do have a pack that can grind it out. I think the dangerous thing for Toulouse is the fact that, like Harlequins again, another game with nothing to lose, where they can throw the ball around. But again, like there's a bit more structure to lose that comes there, but also you don't want to get into a running game with Toulouse. Well, probably the
Mm.
Masters at it. I mean, you're still dealing with the best player in the world. I think that's also another thing. I think there's as good as Bordeaux is, Toulouse has that extra quality, which could make the difference. And I think even in the Leinster Northampton game, as organized as Northampton is, Leinster do have a little bit of extra quality there. I think in terms of players that can make the difference. I think, especially in club formats, kind of star players do age it out a little bit more in terms of like if push comes to shove, the side with probably the better players, especially like in Europe. Really, I mean, unless obviously like to La Rochelle, I mean they're a great side, but I mean like you tend to go the side with probably the bigger stars at times, more like you're basically playing against Ireland when you're playing against Leinster, and then with Toulouse
Mm.
you're dealing with some of the best players in the world and the best player in the world. I think that at the end of the day could be the difference.
Yeah, so let's just move to the Challenge Cup quickly. So Gloucester beat Ospreys 23 points to 13. Clermont thrashed Ulster 53-14. Benetton beating Connacht 39-24. And the Sharks have beaten Edinburgh 36-30. They're back up. They have a Road to Redemption series. They're gonna release their whole Chasing the Finn series, I think, after this. Like they're fully bought into the Challenge Cup. I mean, up to the point where if you go on the Twitter feed, you have so little like mention of the fact that they're playing this weekend in the URC. I don't even know if the Sharks know that they're in the URC still. Like they are completely focused on trying to win that Challenge Cup. And it's great. I mean, it's a good opportunity for them. And obviously they've got all those Springboks. They can focus themselves for like two big knockout games to come.
What is the URC? I thought the Sharks we have a bye the next couple of weeks. That's what I thought. We got a bye until that's in fun. I mean, we've got Curry Cup prep for the guys. We've got Curry Cup prep against this weekend. I mean, I think we're playing. No, we're playing this weekend. We're playing tonight actually.
Glasgow.
They got Glasgow prep so for Curry Cups, giving the guys we haven't played much, getting them ready for Curry Cup while we rest the box for Challenge Cup. I like that. I like our approach. We found some sort of form, which is great. We won 4 straight. Masuku's been an absolute liberation at 10. I just think he's brought a different spark. But like you mentioned, I think him and Ethan Hooker have been the two big differences
Yeah.
in Sharks attack. Ethan Nook has been great, direct, and I mean, he had a great Junior World Cup last year. I'm glad that he's getting a chance, and I think he's brought life to that Sharks attack, and Masuku's been great. Just in terms of, I'm a big Cohen Bosch fan, and I like Cohen Bosch. And one thing I've always felt like he looks like those players is a confidence player, and he's been playing as if like all the Sharks' problems are on his shoulders. And
yeah,
and the funny thing is, he's been great off the bench. Every time since he's been benched, every time he's come on, like the try he scored, the one where he like beat him up, I'm like, that's the Cohen Bosch, like there we know. And I think he's sort of also been like, it feels like there's less pressure on him now. The pressure's also been off, and he's been expressing himself. I think Masuka has shown that as well. He's taking on shoes in the Sharks, so that there's a spark. Apela Fassi has been outstanding. He's had is one of his best, I'll say close to his best season he's had for Shark since probably the 2020 season when he sort of broke out. He's been very good for probably the most consistent player for the Sharks this season. So it's been great to see. I think the Boks have been playing well as well. I think they should obviously the hope of playing Champions Cup next year, next season. So I think that's boss the Sharks. So I hope we rest now, get some good rest during this bye. Organize some camps, go away. Get us ready for semi-final. The URC thing. It's some other competition the other teams are in. Like that's our issue for URC is next year's problems now. we've like no. We're done with the season. We're giving us caps. Like we'll deal with URC. Like Kok is back. We'll give him let him get back. See how he's feeling, and then off next week he'll be off, and then we got to say, tell him we got a competition too. We're playing. We're playing Champions Cup. We don't. It doesn't matter. They gave us a back door in the Champions Cup, and we're gonna take that back door.
Yeah, this is giving prime Chelsea like collapsing in the league, but they're about to win the Champions League situation for the Sharks here. So yeah, they are on tour.
We did not make the rules. We didn't make the rules.
You did not. No.
if you're chasing a playoff spot in the UFC, you want to play the Sharks right now. That's who you want to play.
Yeah.
That's our plan. Like, play the Sharks right now. That's who you want to play, because you'd be like, okay, the Sharks, they're resting players, and then that's the team you want to play if you're chasing the playoffs.
Yeah. So in the semifinals, they're going to be playing Clermont, and because of the rule that South African teams can't host semifinals, that's another conversation. That will be at the Stoop in London. So obviously a big opportunity for Saffers abroad to come to that game. Clermont also not in the best form, similar in the sort of situation that the Sharks are finding themselves in. Like they're getting their big players to find themselves here, but this is a very winnable game for the Sharks. Like they could actually come through here. And then a final, so Gloucester's playing Benetton, the other semi-final. I would probably back Benetton, obviously, with just the number of players that they have against Gloucester. But Benetton also are in the teeth of trying to qualify for the URC top 8. So they're also got their attentions divided. So the Sharks actually have a nice path here of winning the Champions Cup. The Challenge Cup. So it's up to them. I don't know what will happen if the Sharks win that semi-final, because the final, I think, is 2 weeks after that. Will Itzebeth and those players just stay in London, basically?
It's like in Europe.
We're
not coming back. We're not falling in the trap of the Bulls. We're not going to the Bulls going through. We're saying we're just gonna stay there until they tell us where the final is. So we just wait. We just hover around Europe for just linger.
So when the Sharks play Cardiff in that week in between, who's going to be playing that game?
It's not gonna be Itzebeth. I'll tell you that for free.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game for the Sharks under 21 players.
Yeah, no. They got junior Kickoffs to worry about. Like I said, Temlani Poli, Fomink will come back again, back from his injury. All those guys we haven't seen for a while. Yao Pengle, they're all coming back. That's their game.
Bota Chamberlain.
Bota. Buta's playing like only half.
It's a big game for them, basically.
Just in case Buta's playing half, just in case we might need him for the semi-final. So he's not going to play for too long. Might get the Hilton first team to go, see if they're keen on the tour.
Not the Hilton first team. Oh
carry on.
no.
I mean, maybe a Craven Week tour for the kids on the 18 side. See if they're keen to go to
Yeah,
Cardiff.
good warm up.
Yeah, well, okay. They'll go to Cardiff.
Yeah, so Sharks also doing well. So let's talk about the URC, and I mean, it's a massive logjam to get into the top eight at the moment. And this weekend's games for the South African teams. So we've got Sharks playing Glasgow, and unfortunately for the Bulls, they would have preferred if the Sharks sent their first team to Glasgow because Glasgow's on the Bulls' tail, trying to also get into that top four and especially that top two. Glasgow has a 4 point lead over the Bulls. They'll probably extend that because the Sharks are playing essentially a second team. So yeah, thanks for nothing, Cooks. Thanks for that. The Lions are playing Leinster on Saturday afternoon. Leicester's played a stronger team than last year. Last year they sent the Irish under-19s. This year there's a few internationals here and there, different coaches. I guess Jacques Nobert doesn't know what this sending like absolute like rubbish team is to him. The Look, the Lions Leinster game is actually very interesting because we know how good the Lions have been this whole season. And because of the games that they have coming up, they've got Munster coming here. They've got, okay, Cardiff is a bit on the easier side, but they've got Glasgow coming through. And then their last game is the Stormers in Cape Town. So this Leicester game might be low key, mid key, one of their easier games
Yeah.
coming up in these last five games. And they need to win probably at least three, probably four of them.
Yeah, because I mean it's tight there. I mean, you win a game, you go from
Mm.
ninth to fourth or something stupid like that. Like it's very tight there. If there's ever, I think for the Lions, I mean they're playing at 3 as well, and it's going to be hot here. It's 28 degrees here tomorrow. So if there's ever a time you want to play Leinster, it's here. So I think for the Lions it's imperative now. They've gotten through their tour. It's imperative now they win the games at Ellis Park, and because they're still gonna go down to Cape Town, like you mentioned, and which is not easy. I mean, so I think for them, there's a big problem. They won at home against Leinster this run now. I think it does sort of take a lot of pressure off them because then they'll know like, okay, cool, we've got the home games ticked off because Leinster obviously not a weak side. I mean, Michael Alatoa, Charlie Nata, they're established internationals. Kieran Froley, who seems to bench for Ireland and Leinster. I've never seen that before. But you get a few caps now. But so they have an opportunity. I see Nahamba's back at 10. So they've gone back to the side that's sort of gone, that's the side that's sort of been probably the strongest side in their best combination. So the Lions have to win their home games. And unfortunately, there's certain games like the game against Ospreys they lost, which might come bite them in the bum. So Leinster 3 o'clock on a Sunday altitude. Oh, I think it's Lions have got to back themselves to come out there with 4 points.
Mm. And Lions also have a good few players coming back into the team. Klabakanye comes back from a suspension. Henko van Wyk is back from injury. Yeah, Raya North, I think he wasn't available in that last Challenge Cup game. So that's some power off the bench as well. So, I mean, look, I mean, Ireland, I said, Leinster, I mean, they also still have like the likes of Alatoa and Maloney and Radak also off the bench. Like, this is almost evenly matched because Leicester hasn't played their first team. Like, but the Lions almost have to win this. Like, if they don't, it makes it very hard for them. Knowing with the log situation, it also help the Bulls a ton if
Yeah.
Leinster is able to be stopped in this game. So yeah, Lions win, they get themselves into the top eight at least for a week, and I mean they still have some big teams coming over in the next few weeks, but this is almost a game, given the side that Leicester's picked, this is a game they have to get 4 points in.
100%.
We then then we go to the Bulls facing Munster. So this is now probably the game of the weekend. It's the rested Springboks are all ready and primed for this. Munster, they've gotten most of their players that were injured back as well. So Achis Snyman's playing this week. They've got Calvin Nash back on the wing. The bench looks a lot better. Tommy Aaron is there. Gavin Coombs is there. So there's Ollie Jaeger has also come back for Munster as well. So this is, lots of star power that's going to be playing this weekend. Um, the big battle for me, Cooks, is that midfield battle. So Caden Moody's been playing 13 for the last few weeks. It's been a mixed results. I think this is sort of what you would have expected, not that All Blacks Qatar Airways Cup game. Like that's been a bit up and down. Leinster was, I think, trying to target him and going through in that midfield as well. And that Nankivell Antoine Frisch combination is really good themselves. So it's interesting to see how David Creel and Moody goes up against them.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think we all know we can see the potential of Moody at 13. I think it's a position that he can definitely thrive in. He's got all the tools to be a good 13. And listen, it's such a hard position because if you're doing it week in, week out and things like that, and you're going against Gary Ringrose, and like that. So, it's a tough assignment for the best 13s in the world. And it's never mind in a position that's your secondary position. And so Nankivell and Frisch is a great centre pairing. Frisch just got caught up to the French side. Nankivell is a solid performer. He doesn't let the team down. We saw him for the Chiefs and now for Munster. Just a good all round, just probably just a little bit below international level, but a very, very good, a very, very good domestic player. And I think that's going to be a big battle because I think for the Bulls, one of the best players this season has been David Creel. A lot of what they do and what he offers is a different type of mold since of inside center the Bulls have had, and I think they've got a lot of success with that. I think for the Bulls, for Munster, you gotta have to actually find a way to contain David Creel and sort of find a way to keep him quiet, because if you look at all the great Bulls performances, David Creel's had a good game in them as well, and the backline is and the way cooking is a lot due part. Yes, you have Willie, but David Creel's been a big stalwart in the backline. He's played almost every game, and he's offered them something different in attack. And I think, and obviously with Moody there, Moody will in quite a bit on David Creel. So I think for Munster, it's definitely a place that you want to attack. And I think whoever wins that midfield battle, it's going to be a great midfield battle to watch, because it's essentially four ballers, four guys who love throwing the ball around. Frisch can, and guys, and you probably say Nankivell and Frisch are probably the more physical than Creel and Moody, but in the day, but they can jam as well. So I think it's going to be a good battle to watch.
Yeah. And a few other interesting selection calls. Cam Hanekom is playing at flank this weekend, playing at the open side position. It's Hanekom, Ludwig, and Low, which is a massive loose trio. Like all of them over 1.9 meters tall. Like that's going to be a lot of size. But that's probably to counter the Munster lineout, because they've got Snyman, they've got Byrne, they've got Omani, they've got Jack O'Donoghue that is like a youngster that well, he's not even young, he's quite old. But they've also have Aaron and Coombs that are going to come on off the bench. We know Coombs usually can moonlight at lock as well. So Munster can kill you with that, that options that they have in the line out and have like all these people that can come up and take the ball. Bulls have Jay van Heerden, like he's that 19-year-old that has played a few of their games the last few weeks, and I think he's in the SA under-20 squad that's going to go to Australia pretty soon too. So it's going to be a big game for him because he's literally up against Hard Burn and Achilles Neyman. So a lot of interesting battles here. The scrum's going to be massive. I think Bulls obviously have the upper hand there, but Munster's scrum isn't too far off. Like we've seen what they've done in South African tours before, and that's the final factor, is that Munster's not scared of South Africa.
Yeah,
they relish this place. They love this place.
They love coming.
I'm sure they practice in Cape Town this week.
I probably did, but they love it. Yeah, we saw. They've won twice the DHL Stadium, and I think for them, obviously it's a must-win game, because obviously they're also chasing a good place up in the. They want to get a playoff spot, and I think it is still close. So, and they got the pack to do it. And also they play a possession-based game where they can suffocate you with possession. It's not necessarily like possession. We saw that we've seen them at their best is like they can keep the ball 60%, 65% possession, you just don't touch the ball, and they've got a good maul. And I think those are the things in the kick well, which is a recipe to win anywhere in Europe, and especially in South Africa. I think that's yes, you would say like, oh, they're playing altitude. they'll probably go, that actually favors us because we just put up and unders all day. So I think
Mm.
it's going to be interesting in how they approach it. But I mean, I think definitely is a game of the weekend. I think it's my alarm going.
I think so.
Keep it off.
Yeah. No, look, I think this game is obviously going to be massive. And I think for the Bulls, the secret to try and win this game is just play your natural, like Loftus Saturday afternoon game. I think the Bulls would have wished this game was at 3 o'clock or 1 o'clock instead of 5. So, yeah, they can have as much sort of baking sun and try to cook them as possible because Munster, obviously, the last game they played, they had Northampton and they were playing in a afternoon game and they were struggling on the field because they had like a bit of like I think it was like a bug or food poisoning, whatever the case was. Like Craig Casey vomited on the field. So, I mean, a Loftus game in a Saturday afternoon is a good recipe for that as well. So, yeah, I would love to see how the Bulls also approach this game because I think in the Leinster game they were too passive and trying to sort of play the structures, play the percentages, kick the ball down. And, sometimes with really good teams, the secret, obviously, sometimes you must be structured, but sometimes you need to try to keep the ball and make something happen because a good team, if you give them enough ball, they'll cut you up. And that's what Leinster did. Munster obviously plays the game in a different way, but I'm hoping the Bulls sort of lean into how they play usually against most other teams they play at home. So yeah, this game is big. Munster's only 2 points behind the Bulls. So if Munster can get one win, maybe even two wins from this tour, that probably gets them into the top two conversation. The Bulls, they need to win this game in order to host a home semi if they go that far as well. So this is sort of the chips that Jake White pulled to the middle of the table to try and win this game. Then the final URC game from South perspective, the Stormers was Ospreys. So Stormers have picked a big, heavily rotated team because, like I said, not really expecting too much from Ospreys. But Ospreys, they're seventh on the log. I mean, it's not a weak team that they've picked here. So this could be an interesting game. I'm not saying that Ospreys will win, but Stormers haven't really picked like their best players. Like they've sort of rotated a little bit. Damon Willems is on the bench. Stefan Unger is getting a run. We have Sazi Sandi and Skaran Dubeni and Gwenzo Blose playing on the bench as well. Yeah, I'm not now 100% sure about this game. I think there's a little bit of an opportunity here. Obviously, the Stormers had a lot of injuries in that last game that they played in the Champions Cup against La Rochelle. They lost like I think 3 loose forwards in that game.
Yeah, I think some of the. I mean, Ospreys. I mean, they've been having a great season. I mean, they're probably the only shining light in Welsh rugby at the moment. So I think. I mean, they'll definitely come here. They've got a strong side pick. They'll definitely try and target it. Thinking, Jesus, Storms are rotating. We can. If they can steal a win. I think for them, they probably think if they can try and steal a win on tour, it shapes them nicely for when they go back home and sort of try and finish off the season having won at least one game on tour. But I think the Stormers. I think they've also created some good squad depth. I mean, it's a big game for them as well. I mean, they'll want to finish at least, I mean, third or fourth potentially, at least try to make a push for third, at least have a home quarterfinal. I think that's going to be the big thing. But I mean, I think they're just too far away from the Bulls and Leinster. But at least the push to get a home quarterfinal and then do something they haven't had since the URC's play a playoff game away from home. So I think there's still a lot at stake for the Stormers, but I still back them at home. I mean, you still got guys like Willems coming off the bench. So it's not the worst bench in the
Yeah.
world to have. And they are good in Cape Town. I mean, like I always say, like it sounds cliche to say, but they're one of the few sides that just have gotten it right in terms of being great at home, winning your home games. European teams come there. Munster's the only team that's won there from Europe. So your team comes in and put them to the sword, or even put them to the sword, or get the win. I'm just what I'm waiting for the Stormers is I just feel like I'm waiting for them to kick on. Their seasons they've
Yeah.
they've shown games, but like they've been there and thereabouts. I know they've been riddled with injuries this season. I think injuries has been they've had a tough season of injuries, but I'm hoping now they sort of get Ospreys and then they're gonna run of a few games and they just kick on and hopefully pick up some momentum and get a win.
Yeah. So some big news for the Stormers, at least for long term, is the last week they've announced that Stephen Kitsoff and JD Schickerling are coming back to the team. They signed for next season. Obviously, good experience. Kitsoff, obviously, his name speaks for himself. JD Schickerling, I think, is a really good lock. I think he's someone that could definitely be in the Bok conversation quite quickly. So you've got Schickerling, Van Heerden, Murat as a locking sort of like trio. That's ridiculous depth to have there. And then Sasha Feinberg Mazulu signed an extension until 2027. That's probably the biggest news in South African rugby for the last few weeks, because that obviously means there's less of a chance that he plays for England because he does have an English passport. And we were a bit worried when it seemed like Eddie Jones actually was like looking at him at some stage. But yeah, the plan is there for Sasha. Like, bide your time, learn from Manie Lebok, play at 12 probably in the next season or so. Hopefully he just gets over injuries. That's probably the main priority. And then slowly but surely the 12 and the 10 jerseys can be his. Obviously he's still 21, so there's still quite a bit of time, but I think he'll be at the very least a good squad player for the next season or two, and then he can sort of stamp his authority in a year or so.
Yeah, it's great work from the Stormers to keep him until 2027. Yeah, I think obviously Kitsi coming back and JD Schickerling, that's two shrewd signings. I think still got years in them to play for quite a bit. So it's not like they're coming back on a 1-year contract and then almost done. But I think the Sasha one is big because we know that Sasha's probably the future, in South African rugby, a future 10 and things like that. And it's a weird one because Andre, for example, is what is Andre Pollard? 30 this year, I think. Yeah,
29.
29.
Yeah, 30 this year. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
right.
and then like Marnie's also, I think Marnie's also 30. Yeah, I think Marnie's 30 as well. 30. So the two incumbent 10s can still go to the next World Cup, but to note behind that, you've got probably a generational talent in Sasha who's been incredible whenever he's got chances, and it's a perfect way for him to learn under Marnie and Willemse and when he gets. So to have him there for the next 4 years, I think it's going to be great. I know Victor Matfield already spoken about him taking Marnie's place at Storm. I think, for him now, I think this season it's actually stringing together some games because I think he's had a few injuries this season, and I think
Yeah.
the luxury he has the Stormers is the fact that they're surrounded by great playmakers, so he doesn't have to be rushed back. And I think we've seen the culture of the Stormers and the way they play. I think it's a perfect place for him to learn, and I think it's great for South African rugby that he's staying, and the Stormers have managed to keep him for the next 4 years.
And he's playing under the future Springbok head coach, as you've always said.
Yes. And under double 2028, the campaign is still going forward. We haven't stopped yet. If he doesn't get the job then double 2032. We're going. And until Double retires, this campaign will not rest.
Very quickly, other games of importance for the URC. Ulster's playing Cardiff this week. They're at 8th. They're in that sort of logjam between 4th and 11th, or 5th and 11th. That's separated by 5 points. So Cardiff should be you never know with Ulster these days, but this should be a game that they win. Benetton's playing Dragons. Again, a game that Benetton should definitely win. Dragons showed a bit of form in the last few weeks, but yeah, honestly, I'm sure Benetton will probably like rotate their team, but they need to get 5 points probably from that game. You have Connacht playing Zebra, again, a situation where Connacht needs to win and get 4 points against them. And then Edinburgh is playing Scarlets. They're just under the top 8 right now. They're at 9th. They Scarlets sort of they're better than the Dragons, but not by too much. So again, a game that they should win. So for the South African teams that are still in contention, this is, I think, a weekend where they have to pick up, as many points as possible, because pretty much all the other teams that aren't playing the South African teams, they're all going to pick up 4 or 5 points, just judging on the matches that they're playing. There's no banana peels or like banana skin type of matches for them. So they have to almost take it as a given that every team that does not face an African team is going to get 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, I think it's a hard one because I think the Lions have got it tough. Because the Lions have got Lions, they've got Leinster and Munster. I mean, it's a tough home stretch for them because Munster would back themselves to win in Joburg, and I think, but for the African side like the Stormers I think the Stormers go on tour next week, because Stormers still need to go back to Europe. That's so for Stormers, they have to win at home this weekend. And because you've seen what this tour can do. Look at Edinburgh. Edinburgh was flying in the last 2 games in South Africa, and now they find themselves at 9th. So it's one of those
Mm.
things where now it's season's almost done. So now wins become important because 2 bad weeks can set you back a long way. And I do think, for example, I sound like the Stormers, I do back them to be able to go and win at least a game overseas. But like I think for me this weekend, the most important game is that Lions game, and the Lions have to win that game, and this shapes their season because they've got to win one. And I feel like it sounds wild, and I feel like their best chance is probably against Leinster as opposed to Munster, because Munster will be full strength.
Yeah. Yeah, Stormers, they play Leinster next week. So obviously the annual game where they are never at full strength is
Stormers
going to
and
happen
Leinster
again.
will never play to the full strength until the URC, like forever and ever and ever and ever, and unless they meet in the final. Otherwise, it's gonna be it's gonna be like we used to pray for Messi and Ronaldo to play in the Champions League final. It's gonna be in the same thing. Like why can we never see Leinster and Stormers at full strength?
Yeah. That's probably maybe another small reason is the NZR knows that Jordy Barrett will probably be in that Leinster team that goes to South Africa, taking the Charlie Nagatai place. So he's at least going to be in South Africa. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try to get tickets for that game next year. But the Stormers tour at least is a bit easier. They've got the Dragons. They need to get
Mm.
obviously one win from that. Then they play their arch nemesis Connacht and they win. Um, we know that that's a place where South African teams usually don't win, but obviously the Lions showed away a few weeks ago. So it's an interesting place because the three of the top four, Leinster, Glasgow, and Munster, are in South Africa or have to come to South Africa still.
Yeah.
So they have 2 matches out of the 5 that they have to play in South Africa, and there's no easy games for them in the country. The Bulls are pretty much at home the rest of the time. The Stormers still have 2 matches away. The Lions are all at home, and everyone in between. They've got sort of a mix of like easy and hard games. So there is there a few weeks ago we were talking about maybe there's a situation where maybe the 3 South African teams can join Leinster in the top 4. That looks less likely now, but there is a good opportunity for at least 2 of them to make it if the Bulls keep on their form and one of Stormers or Lions. That Leinster game is obviously a bit of a swing game, and they have to then manage the games that they have now. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in the URC. There's a top 4 battle happening. There's 7 teams that are trying to get into the last 4 places in the top 8. Like yeah, there's going to be a lot of moving chairs. And as AP Cronje says, it probably ends off in the likely situation that the Bulls have to go to the Sharks in Durban, probably post Challenge Cup win, and they're playing all their Springboks just to flex on one time. We lose that game, and that means we play the Stormers in a quarterfinal in Pretoria. I can see the script being written like that.
But and there'll be 3 straight years the Stormers and Bulls meet in a play in the playoffs. So oh,
Yeah.
so I mean, like yeah, it's I must say, like we know AP always makes that saying that URC is the best league. I mean, you look at the season. I mean, it has been great, and you look where it is now. It's so if it's so firmly balanced because there's no one like Bulls can still topple Leinster from the top. I mean, if Leinster lose 2 games this weekend,
Yeah.
when this tour Bulls win 2, this game on, Stormers could still end up third, fourth, or even second. It depends because Stormers can still run the table. I mean, they'll look at their fixtures and thinking we can win the rest. We should and possibly back ourselves to win the next 5 games. Yeah, it'll take us to beat Leinster at home in Cape Town, which they should do, especially this Leinster side, and then also going to a win in Connacht and beating their win. It's great. We're in a position where we could have 3 South African sides in there. The Lions, obviously, I think the Lions probably got the hardest road there, but I mean, we've seen them put in performances how good they are. So now it's about like now it's the next step. Now they can't just be that side that has that the side that everyone loves watching. I think they need to take that next step now and get themselves into a playoff. So yeah, I think the US is in a good place, especially now this weekend coming back, and it's going to be some very very good rugby on this weekend.
Yeah. Look, I don't really care much about the rest of the top 8. I mean, I want obviously the Bulls there, the Stormers there, keep the other top 4 teams in there. I just want Benetton and the Lions in, and
Yeah,
Connacht to have a soft spot for Connacht. The other teams they can go. Like I just want those teams in the top 8. That would make me happy. Cooks, finally, just speaking of leagues, we need to talk very quickly about Super Rugby. There seems to be some sort of aggro situation happening there. Like there's headbutts, there's pushes, there's like people's elbows from Tate McDermott. Like, I don't know, do we need to just have them in a room, talk about what's going on, how they're
Yeah,
feeling? Like there's a lot of aggression happening in
I
Australia and New
don't know
Zealand.
what is going on in Super Rugby. Like, you blink, someone's elbowed someone, or then someone has headbutted someone, and then it's take McDermott, like you said, just taking someone out. I'm like, what is like? And then obviously the worst of it is like, oh, headbutt started at 6 weeks, but because he showed remorse, he's get 3 weeks. I'm like, Super Rugby should not actually show what the punishment was and what they did for it to come down. Just say it's 3 weeks and then deal with the say it's 3 weeks and then deal with the ramifications. Don't show like, oh, it's actually 6 weeks, but then he showed remorse. And I'm like, but it's a headbutt. Like, and then and then it's like, I mean, some of the things, like, was it Ted McDermott got longer time for what he did, which is also that's also like 6 weeks. But then you got longer time than a headbutt. Then you're like,
Yeah.
what is like now we're headbutting people, which is like, and I'm like, so I don't know what was happening with the drawer that day. I have no idea. When Lamont got like, I don't know who pushed off the drawer that day. Or maybe they mentioned the quarterfinal. Maybe the World Cup quarterfinal they lost. Like someone, I don't know who pushed off the drawer. Maybe they mentioned the Sevens team isn't doing that well, and they just flipped the switch. But Super Rugby is like boxing themselves in a corner, like again, it's the value, it's the 20-minute red card, right? Because at the end of the day, 20 minutes, guy comes back on, and they're not going to get banned for any, like the bans is 3 weeks. Guys are getting banned as if like it's for like a little tip tackle. So like, and then when they get to international rugby, something similar happens, and they're like, oh, why am I out for 10 weeks? Like I cannot believe refs are the punishment systems are like this. So Super Rugby just keeps on shooting themselves in the foot. Like in the beginning, we dealt with JK and the guys going off about Sam Kerr getting yellow card. Now it's this. Like I don't know what Super Rugby needs to do. Like I don't understand. Like it's bad for the game. Like I don't understand like how those three incidents, for example, those big ones, how collectively I think they're about 8 weeks punishment. Like I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but a headbutt, you can't. You're done. You can't headbutt people. Like
Yeah.
like like that should be minimum. Like that's 8 weeks. Cheers. Thanks for coming. Like there's certain things I'm like, guys, you can't do. Like it's just not good for the game. And I just feel like this 20-minute red card, which is still the worst law. There's no ramifications because of the fact that if I headbutt someone in first 10 minutes, yeah, maybe you could lose, but something can happen where at least another 50 minutes, my team's going back to 14 men. So
Yeah.
how bad can it be?
Yeah. I mean, added to that is Ian Foster still
Oh,
complaining about
oh, don't get started that guy. It's April now. Move on. Move on. Maybe don't kick for the corner. I mean, kick a 50-meter penalty. Kick for the corner. Maybe score a try. Get momentum. They just need to get over this World Cup loss. You lost. If you want to see how you lost, watch Chasing the Sun on Sunday. Watch it again. Just make sure that like I'm so over Ian Foster and this whole thing. You should even be at the World Cup. Like, that's not there. You're supposed to even be there. If we did not, oh, tell her you're pissing me off now. Because if you won this game at Ellis Park in 2021, you don't even be.
Oh man.
So now you must just relax. Now, like, just get over it. Like, oh, I've never seen such sore losers before. Just get over it. Like, it's over. Like, time wasting and all of this and all of that. Like, you know what? What'd be great, Tyler? Your captain doesn't get a red card in the first half. That does help as well.
That would work.
That does not stop the game when it goes upstairs. You're gonna look. He goes in the bunker. You're like chat. That does speed up the game. Maybe the game is 60 minutes. Fucking hell. I'm so over the All Blacks, actually. Like, they piss me off. Like, why is it also
just to piss you off?
Random day? It's like a random just woke up, like, you know what? Time wasting. I'm like, where did this come from now? He's gonna blame Colby crying on the sidelines. I was like, if Colby didn't cry on the sidelines, we need a yellow card. We would have been distracted because he was crying, and then Jordy and he couldn't kick for the goal. Like, I've never seen so many.
Yeah. I'm glad that he's in Japan now. We don't have to hear from them.
Nancy can go chill there together. Just go chill there.
Yeah.
The Wild Knights and the Kubata Wild Spears. I don't know. They got all weird names there. So I coach those guys there.
One more thing to piss you off, Cooks. Have you seen what time we're playing the Australians
Yeah, I saw that.
in
So
the rugby championship?
I could have put a slack for that because the guys that said, yeah, but in New Zealand teams, in New Zealand, we watch the box at 3 a.m. And I want to address that. I don't care. I don't care what time you chose to move to New Zealand. You chose to go there. Like, I don't care. It's always been like that. The game's always been at 3. We've always played our games at 5. Come attack me, like, I'll move to New Zealand. I don't give a shit. You chose to go. So suffer. Like, at least the All Blacks and the Kiwi fans have known we always play at 3 o'clock. They've known that. If it's really that bad, we'll move to Six Nations. If they want, I'm more than happy. But the Wallabies, they piss me off because this is a new thing that started now. It hasn't been like this forever. Like, it's a new thing where they just want to play test matches in the afternoon and play a test match on a Sunday. And like, we're going to go back to how it was before amateurs where rugby was played at 3 o'clock. Why with us though? Who I blame? I blame Jake White. I blame Rusty.
Jake White.
I blame Jacques Nienaber. All those coaches that made us lose in Australia. Now we must deal with this shit. Now they think they're better than us, so they make us play at random times. I hate Australia.
Blame Andre Pollard as well.
I hate Sansa. I just like, this must be our last rugby championship. We need to leave stupid competition because why am I watching the Springboks at 7:15? And I'll say this again, Thala. We can quote this. If you are complaining the All Blacks at 3 a.m., move back to South Africa. Come back home. You chose to leave us, so suffer. Wake up at 3 o'clock. I don't care what time the Kiwis have to watch the Springboks play. I don't give a shit, Thala. I care about myself. I'm selfish. I don't wake up and say, no, like, you know how much shit I got on Twitter? No, Cooks, you don't understand. Like, what about the Kiwis? I don't care. I don't give a shit what time the test starts when you play Ellis Park. It's for me, it's at 5 o'clock. I am happy. 5 o'clock is a great time. If you don't like it, move back home. We have more than enough space here. Simple. Miranda's
yeah. Let us end there. Let us end right there. So yeah, South Africans, you are welcome to move back here. I will say it in a nicer way than Cooks. You're more than welcome to come back home if you don't want to watch games at 3 a.m. Yes, thank you so much for listening to Rugby Biz Podcast. Please follow us on our social media channels. You know where to find us to have any updates on rugby news. Our Chasing the Sun podcast series is going to finish this week after the final episode. There might be another rant about Ian Foster in that episode as well. Who knows? And yeah, we've got that locked in as well. And then we'll have our usual weekly podcast as well, looking back at the URC results as well. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.
Yes, guys.